Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
And good morning from me. This is Stan in Gainesville, Florida. Today, we're discussing lighting storyboards, LinkedIn, and your supply of gels, all on Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers.
You did that 2 times speed, double the speed.
Well, I could slow it down in editing, you know.
No, you could actually speed it up in editing. That would be fun. Get us through the exposition faster.
Matter of fact, I could speed up the whole show and do this whole show in 12
now,
minutes.
That would be a funny show. 1.5 times?
Well, yeah, 1.5 times, 2 times.
You'd be like, could you put the chipmunk effect on us? That would be fun.
I thought it was already on.
Alvin and the Chipmunks system that already.
Anyway, welcome everyone to episode 190. And believe it or not, there is no news today.
Hey, a slow news day for a change. It's been 4 years since we had a slow news day.
We still don't know who the president is, right? We kind of know, but
I
we
know
don't really.
I know who's going to be the president.
Someone is still holding out.
President Macron knows. President Justin Trudeau knows. They know who's going to be president.
Okay, well, anyway, so let's welcome everyone to episode 190, by the way. That means
190.
we're 10 from 200.
10 from 200. That could be a good
200.
song. 10 from 200. Is that like a rock song?
Yes, it is. It's by the Rolling Stones.
25 or 64.
So, since we have no news, let's get started.
Whoa.
Steve.
Steve has something to say.
No, I think we need to briefly remind everyone of our puzzler last week.
Oh, we're ready to answer the puzzler.
And Stan is ready to give an answer on dimmers. Why are they 12, 24, 48, 96? Why don't we have a 100-way dimmer rack?
But wait, who won the puzzler?
He's right. I was supposed to come up with that answer.
No. We have the puzzlers for the listeners to solve. Do we have a winner?
Yeah. Did anybody answer?
I don't think so.
we had one.
Oh, okay. Who was it?
One correct answer from New York.
Yeah, from New York.
Rudy G.
Wait, he's $2,500 an hour. That guy.
He's $20,000 a day.
$20,000 a day.
$2,500 an hour if he works an 8-hour day.
Okay, that's good to know. Anyway, we shouldn't answer it until there's a winner. Stan has that Ross Perot button to give away.
We will push it. We will push it to next week. We have no correct answers.
Maybe no one listened to our show this week.
That could be. Well, let's let it hang out there. Give me some time to think about it.
Let it dangle.
I have to come up with a funny answer as well as a real answer.
Yeah. Okay. So, but have you found the button yet? Because we have to give a prize.
I've been enjoying the beautiful Florida winter weather, which has finally arrived. Sitting on my patio, just enjoying the sun and the air, and looking at my landscape lighting, and thinking about buying Pam a puppy. Finally.
Oh my God, Steve! How long have we heard this about this damn puppy?
It sounds to me like you must have had a gathering at your patio last night.
No, you're just Pam and I.
No, it sounds to me like Johnny Walker came over, Jim Beam came over, and you decided to buy a puppy.
Yeah, that could be.
All right, now
that's a nice image. That's a nice image there, Steve.
You got to get the right dog. Okay, you don't get a Labradoodle or any of those things.
No, she wants 2. That's the deal.
Well, you got to get the right dog.
You need to call Jay up and have him send you a couple Iraqi dogs.
We could get some from Kuwait, Kuwaiti dogs. Isn't that where he gets the dogs? Kuwait?
I'm not sure. He's in this dog rescue thing. Been doing it for a while.
Yeah, I think it's Kuwait. They come over from the Middle East because they eat the dogs there.
Okay. So welcome everyone to episode 190, 10 from 200. And Steve has our first question.
Okay, it is Scott in Wisconsin. And Scott writes, full disclosure, I am new at this. I was placing gels into our lights today, and they kept melting. I mean, like in seconds. Not only did they melt, they were smoking. This happened on every ERS spotlight. What is wrong? Okay,
he's
Scott.
doing it. He's just. I got the. I know what he's doing.
Well, Scott, let me just refresh your memory about a gel. We didn't always have gel. William Shakespeare, he put bottle of red wine down and shine a little candle light through that. That turned into colored water and silk to filter light in the theater. Later on, we looked at horses and went, yeah, gelatin, that'd be a good idea.
Ooh.
So, gelatin was available until about the late 70s. We still use that name gel today, but we don't really use gelatin anymore. We have all kinds of ways that we can color light today. And over the years, one of the problems has been gel burning out, or gel just simply turning crispy, or gel fading. So there's a couple things about your placement of gel. It's not going to last forever. To prolong the life of a color filter, you need to make sure your fixture is aligned. That's called bench focusing. That's to get rid of that hot spot and get a nice flat field out there. Maybe you want to make sure there's a little air gap between the color filter and the lens. Maybe if you're using things like a dark green or a dark blue, then they are absorbing infrared energy in a different way, and that's causing them to burn out. But I have thought about this, and I'm looking at your question here.
Here we go.
And it says, like in seconds. Scott, I don't want to insult you or anything, but I'm just going to go ahead and do that.
I think I know where he's going.
Are you stuffing your gel in the gobo slot?
Yes,
No,
he is.
no, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Putting
No,
it in
he's
there?
not.
He is.
He's not doing that.
He says, I was doing just what Steve was. I was reading very carefully the wording of the question. Let's do a little deductive reasoning here. I am new at this. So he's not experienced. He says he's placing gels into, not in front of, into our lights. And I started to think, because I read this question earlier today.
Okay.
I read the question earlier today, and it's been on my mind.
You actually did your homework today.
Yeah, I did. Just walking around the house.
Takes you back to high school, doesn't it?
Thoughts are floating around in my little head, in my little kepi. And I thought, and then when Steve read it again today, I said, oh, that's what this is.
He also says it happens on every light.
He's putting he's cutting a nice little rectangle. He's sliding it into the gobo slot, and he's sliding it in, and it's smoking in seconds. And that's exactly what would happen.
Now, Scott, I'm going to stand up for you right now because, first of all, I don't think you're that much of a moron.
No, it's just an easy mistake to make.
No, it's not.
If you're new at it, come on.
Okay,
You're making Scott feel a lot worse right now.
Okay, and the reason why I'm going to support you, Scott, is because there are certain colors that do not hold up the heat very well. And it depends obviously on the fixture and what the focal length of the fixture is, and some other things as well. But also, I'm telling you right now that Lee 200 in a lot of Lecos will burn real fast. Will burn really, really, really
fast. That's not it. He's putting them in the wrong place.
And it smokes up.
He could be putting them in a 6x5 and 6. What were those called?
6x5.
6x4.5s. No, those like
4.5 by 6s.
4.5 by 6s.
Right.
And they would burn the gel unless you put a color extender on it and held the gel further out from the focal point. But I think he's just innocently making an error of placement of the.
He could be just taking the back end off and wrapping around the lamp too. He could be doing that.
Well, my question is, what color is the smoke? Because that will tell us immediately. That's a click and clack question. Is the smoke white or is it like black
brown,
smoke?
Right? So you're burning oil or
right?
Is it burning the oil?
All right. I don't know what to say about this. So, all I can tell you is that there are some colors that still to this day burn really fast.
I think Scott has to step up, be a man, get his cell phone out and take a photograph and post it on our Facebook site.
Send it to our Facebook.
Put it there
group.
for everybody to see.
Right.
And we will all apologize, or we will all collectively laugh at you around the world, 123 countries.
And we'll see if you really are a moron. So, we'll find out.
One thing is for sure. One thing is for absolute certainty. Stan has the next question.
Go. Let's move on.
In Buffalo writes, I'm starting my search for a summer job. What do you think of LinkedIn? Well, first of all, she's asking me about two things. She's factual. She's searching for a summer job, which that's one aspect of the question. And there's what do I think of LinkedIn? Not much. I'm a member of LinkedIn, but I have to tell you, it's been useless for me. So weird people from all over the planet say, I want to be in your network. I'm like, okay. And then I look at who they are, and they're like from some industry that I have no connection to. So it hasn't done much for me. But maybe for some people it works. I don't know. I'm curious to hear if other people are making good use of it. It has not. The latest I know about LinkedIn is that lynda.com, which had these great training videos, is now owned by LinkedIn. So now it's LinkedIn Learning as opposed to lynda.com. Now, about a summer job, well, are you searching for a job in the lighting world, in theater, in architecture, in concert design? Where are you heading? And whether LinkedIn will get you there or not, I don't know. I think there might be some better, more focused places, but maybe LinkedIn lets you do that. Can you sort of like specify the industries you're looking for? I don't know. Do you guys use LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, it's not stalking, it's LinkedIn. It's for people who think they're special. It's for sharing worthless news. LinkedIn, it's never satisfied with your profile. Stan, it's time to tell us what you did in high school. Come on, let us know. A lot of people are going to see your post and you might lose your job. All of a sudden you went from sales associate to director of marketing for Apple. LinkedIn, it's useless information for worthless bastards that I don't want them to be my friend and I don't want to be their friend.
Oh, that's rough, man. That's really
I don't
rough.
know. It hasn't done a thing for me.
Okay. Oh, let's just break this down. Stan is a LinkedIn user.
That says it all.
Let's say no. Let's say I want to be.
I'm never there.
I want to be a LinkedIn user.
I don't even visit.
Am I part of your network? Or are you part of mine?
Part of mine.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Are either of you guys on LinkedIn?
I don't know what the hell it is. What the hell's LinkedIn?
Okay. I know what it is. It's supposed to be like a job, sort of like a business networking platform.
I got it right here. Okay. So listen, if you're looking for a summer job in the theater, there's still no better place than Art Search.
Right.
Most everybody will, who's serious companies, the ones that will actually pay you.
Theater Communications Group.
Theater Communications Group, Art Search, still the best. You could just do it online or you can get the pamphlet if you want, but really that's where you're going to find it. And you're smart in looking now because most of them start like advertising in December and January for summer jobs. So you should go for that. Also, I don't know where you live, but find out if there are any places that are close to you that does summer theater. If you're looking in a manufacturer, go and visit them. Go call them or send an email and say, hey, I'm looking for a summer internship, summer job. And you'd be surprised. These companies want employees who are aggressive. And aggressive means proactive. And also there are, depending on where you live, different organizations like the IESNA offer internships for people who want to get into architectural lighting. And some of them are paid. Matter of fact, all the internships here in Los Angeles that my students have taken have been paid internships, and they work with like 5 companies over the summer. It's almost a free ticket into the architectural lighting world. You will get a job after that because people aren't, they know that you're a good worker. They know that you're a nice person, and it's hard to find good employees. So again, that's how I would handle it.
Well, also you left out. I mean, I bet Hannah, clearly a sophisticated woman, a woman of knowledge and means. She listens to Light Talk. I bet she's part of USITT. There are, 7 or 8 different regional theater conferences. The first one that comes to mind is Southeastern Theater Conference or the Southwestern Theater Conference. Most of those have a job placement forums you can look on. Just type in summer stock theaters, United States, and there'll be a list of a couple hundred that pop up. Again, go to the IRTA website, type in Lort Theater Companies. Look at the universities that have summer theater companies associated with them. Go down to, if you're in a town that has, a company that is selling gel or lamps or producing shows, go down and talk to them. Clean some cable. See how it's done. I think there's a lot of jobs out there. Community access television. They'll be happy to have you. Come down and learn a little bit about TV. You probably won't make a lot of money, but you can be invested in increasing your knowledge. So there's so much. Go through the phone book And, ignore things like theater, dance, opera companies. Look for all the other companies that could, you got to do a little work. Do a little work here. In Dallas, everybody calls the Dallas Theater Center. That's fine. But start looking at advertisement agencies, production companies, multimedia houses, photographers. Start looking at people, ad agencies who could use your work, who could use, the skill set you have. They might need an intern, or they might need someone to work for them. So, there's a lot of work out there, but you've got to be a detective and you've got to figure out what your skill sets are. And then you have to figure out who can use your skill sets.
And hopefully during this downtime, during COVID pandemic, you have been learning skill sets like Vectorworks and AutoCAD and the Adobe Creative Suite, so that by the time we have a vaccine and it starts getting spread out and these companies start gearing up again, you will have these skill sets to offer people. Jane in North Carolina writes, what type of lighting storyboard techniques do you use? Well, this is a really good question because we were actually talking about this a few weeks ago. We were talking about lighting models and things like that. But you're talking about storyboards. And we just want to make sure that everyone understands what we're talking about when we say storyboards. Storyboards are usually representations, drawings, paintings, renderings, either through mechanical means, software, or actually by hand, that will give the director and the other members of the creative team an idea of what the lighting atmospheres are doing over time, sort of like a storyboard of a comic strip or of a movie or something like that. It's done in usually what I consider dramatic moments by dramatic moments, if not scene by scene by scene, but certain dramatic moments within that scene that you can actually show a director what your initial thoughts are about the lighting. And, the three of us, we come from the days when you do it by hand, you draw it, with pencils or, watercolor or whatever.
I couldn't do that. I had to use flashlights and gel books.
Well, that works too. That's, if you have a model, that's great, but sometimes you don't have a model. All right. But over the years, with all the digital rendering programs that came out, like Painter and Photoshop. But I'm more of a Photoshop guy, and I learned Photoshop when it first came out, and I continued to teach it for many, many years. So I did them all in Photoshop, and there are other ways to do it. And I'm sure Stan will have a lot to say about this. But there are visualization programs you can use, both within Vectorworks and WYSIWYG and other visualization programs. But I kind of go old school. I kind of what I do. Let me tell you what I do, and this is what I teach. I usually start with a 3D program, either like in Vectorworks or in SketchUp or something like that. I kind of like SketchUp because it's really, really simple, and I don't have to deal with Vectorworks and get pissed off and throw my computer out the window.
Right. So that thing is losing favor really fast.
You're not going to run into that problem with SketchUp, okay? SketchUp is made for dolts like me. Really, press this and move it here. Okay, I got that. And I get the basic outline in 3D and in perspective. I get the perspective I want. Then I export it and put it into Photoshop. And then I light it in Photoshop. I actually do all the finishing touches. Now, most of the time nowadays, what I'm doing is I'm doing sets and lights. So it's sort of like just a process within the entire set design procedure. And then I light it. I light the scene in Photoshop. So that's how I do it. And it's a relatively quick and facile way of doing it. Now, what you don't get is the actual direction and accuracy of where that light, that angle of light that's coming through there, which you could if you used something like WYSIWYG or you use something like Vision within Vectorworks. Then you actually get the angle of light. I'll just do the key light in Vision, and I'll have that there. Then I'll export it in the Photoshop.
Why don't you just sketch?
Well, I do sometimes. Sometimes I do a quick sketch if I just need to do that. But I like to present something, a little more finished to the director. I do about 5 or 6 or 7 for a show, and they're all major moments of the show. And that's a great starting point that you could talk to the director and the designers about.
So it sounds like you and I use storyboards in a slightly different way. You're using it to present an idea to a director. And for me, I'm storyboarding to find my way into the show. And I'm storyboarding before I've developed the light plot. And you've got to develop light plot, and now you're prevising the show and seeing where that's going to take you. So for me, I sketch. And so for a young designer, I think it's important to, certainly there's nothing wrong with what you're saying, but I think the young designer needs to storyboard into the show so they can start thinking about where light is coming from. For lighting designers, I would say the best thing you can do if you want to learn to storyboard, the way I'm working, sketching, is take a life drawing class or take a costume class. Costume designers understand how to put light on people. And what I see with young lighting designers who don't know how to storyboard or don't know how to draw light in, what I see are big beams of light everywhere. They've photoshopped in a beam of light against a completely black background. And so they're thinking, how do I show the light? Well, I'll show it that way.
Yeah, no. You don't. But that's interesting you said that, Steve, because it is a different way of working. Because I visualize everything in my mind, and then I do the light plot, and then I do the storyboards. So I use the storyboards not to get into the show, but as a communication device to a director.
Well, for me, I'm sitting at the rehearsal with the director, and I'm sketching and storyboarding there. So I'm working those ideas. If I'm doing something like, a runway show, then I'm doing exactly what David's doing because I'm having to be very specific in showing the ad agency what I'm doing.
Well, all I can say is there's a lot happening in this world. And let me just make one sort of broad statement about the notion of a storyboard, and then I'll share my favorite latest workflow for this. Storyboards are static. They're single images. It's sort of like I like to see them done in a comic strip form. We're using cell after cell so we can see progression. We're here, we're there, we're watching that like in a film strip, right? I like that kind of presentation. However you make it, to whatever flavor works for you, whether it's by hand or Photoshop or Vision or whatever, ultimately the result is this static image. But I don't think that we light static images in the theater. I think we light action, right? And so I think I'm more interested now in taking that work and giving it some animated entity, because I think the thing that the storyboard can't really show very well, it tries to, but is time, is light as it changes and moves across time. So here's my favorite latest workflow for that, and I mentioned it on the show before, but I'll mention it again in this context. Most scene designers are giving us now SketchUp models, right? Or Vectorworks models. They're giving us some kind of a 3D model, right, David? So, and now I can take that into what I've always wanted Photoshop for me was a struggle because Photoshop is essentially a painter's tool where you basically have to make it dark and then reveal, right? But it's sort of like when you get a canvas and you paint on the canvas is white and you're adding color to it. It's a subtractive process. Light, on the other hand, starts in a dark space and is an additive process. So what I'm really loving, and I recommend this to all the students out there, and some of my former students have taken me up on this and are loving it as well, because there is an educational version. I love Lumen, and what I would describe it as is this is Photoshop for lighting designers. So the light fixtures are like brushes, but when you put the light on the model, the materiality and the glow and all the things that you expect from light that you have to simulate in Photoshop or even in a painterly sketch, right? Even if you're Rembrandt, it's still sort of a simulation, but this stuff looks like light, feels like light, behaves like light, and it's not technical, it's an artistic tool, right? And not only can you do the individual shots or each moment in a storyboard fashion, but then you can actually then put it in keyframes and, okay, I'm in this moment from this angle and here's my lighting, and now I'm going to go 5 minutes into this moment and I'm going to relight it and I'm going to show the transitions. So I would recommend that theater people take a good look at Lumen, Lumion, ask for the academic license. We're using it in class right now, and I think and I would pay good money for this software. It's easy to use. It's not technically, and it is like sketching. It is very much like you really put the light down and you aim it, you change it. It's just so much like Photoshop for lighting. So that's my big gift today to everyone, is to really explore Lumion.
Good. Maybe you could put a link up on the Facebook page. That'd be great.
I will be happy to do so this evening. You are listening to Light Talk, and today Light Talk is sponsored by...
From across the mighty Pacific, it's Pet Sweat of Japan. That's right. All the way across the ocean, it's Pet Sweat of Japan, the people who always have something good in the kitchen. And today we offer 3 new tasty treats for the hungry stagehand. Who among us doesn't enjoy a tasty peanut butter and jelly sandwich? But what if you need to watch your weight and that grape jelly is a no-go? Then try turtle jelly. That's right, all the way from China, it's turtle jelly, and it's a summertime favorite. Not only that, it reduces internal heat and gives you a smooth, rich skin. But perhaps you have even a greater taste for seafood. Then we suggest Drunken Shrimp. That's right, just fill a bowl up with your favorite liquor, toss in a few shrimp, and 5 minutes later, your shrimp will be falling down drunk, and their little wiggling bodies will go right down your throat.
Oh.
And we have not forgotten dessert. Get yourself a big glass of cow piss and chew on a wasp cookie. That's right. No chocolate chips for you, Spanky. Just a mouthful of mostly dead digger wasps. Good luck, dearest tongue. Through the teeth, past the gums, look out, stomach, here it comes. 3 exciting meals from Pet Sweat.
I have a question.
Sure.
Does Pet Sweat offer vegan versions of this?
And now, back to Light Talk.
Well, those crazy ducks tell us that it's time for another installment of Let's Talk About. And the subject of today's Let's Talk About segment is, where do you draw the line when it comes to using other artists' work in your designs?
Are they dead?
On papyrus.
Papyrus. You know, it's interesting because something happened on a show that I was mentoring a few months ago. And the set designer was, and I'm mentoring her, brought in, did some great research on the show, mostly emotional research. And there was one piece of research that was just fabulous. It was like this, I don't want to describe it, but it was this fabulous piece of research. And you know how it is. And sometimes you bring in this great piece of research, everybody says, wow, this is fantastic. Let's use it. You know what I mean? Let's use it. Well, use it as inspiration. You know, you don't like use it because in this case, the director wanted to use it. She wanted to put it like on stage. And I said, well, that's, you know, that's really not exactly cool because that piece of research, which happened to be an art piece, it wasn't a photograph, was created by an artist, and it's the artist's intellectual property. So unless you make an arrangement with the artist to use it, you really can't just use it. And also, you know, I have some issues with that morally, doing things like that. And I've seen this happen, unfortunately, where people will borrow these ideas, and I put the the quotation marks around borrow, and then throw them on stage. And that's really not cool. The whole idea of research, to me, is inspiration. And if you see something like that, you're inspired. And as it turns out, that's a happy story. The student designer talked to the director, explained to her why she really can't do that, but came up with something better. And this is basically what I told her to do. So come up with a drawing that has the essence of this, and then show that to her. And of course, what she created was a lot better than the research, and that's what they ended up using.
Well, it's coincidental, but our college is actually hosting a college-wide conversation about this ownership of creative work, and they're focusing on it from a dance moves perspective, where someone creates some dance moves that are very unique to that individual, and then they sort of perform it, and then it gets picked up, and a lot of money is made on that dance move, and it's how do you protect it, and so there's sort of like this larger question about creative ownership. And getting remunerated for that commodity, for that asset, for that thing. I'm going to try and go to that meeting. So it's very interesting. Although on the counter side, and so that's something that our entire college is looking at right now, along with business people and other experts in the field of intellectual property and such, because it's an interesting phenomenon that you raise in the larger sphere. I used to sort of answer that question with, what's new under the sun? Really not much. And what is new sometimes is the way an artist or a creative person arranges existing things. Like no one's really created anything absolutely, never been done before. And we see that in the sciences now. We see that in genetic research. We see CRISPR. We see things that have never been done before. We see the mapping of the genome. But in that regard, I think what David's getting at is respect for someone's creative work. And if you're using it verbatim, as it is, and just putting it in a different context, I think that's where it's dangerous, and that's where it's sort of common sense that you're infringing. Taking inspiration from it is something else. It's removed, and whether the work is protected or not. That's a large area of law. It's a large, I think, since the internet, and that's really a very large conversation. But I do think you should use your best judgment, generally speaking. But I'll report back in about 6 months about what comes out of this larger conversation that's happening in the College of the Arts here at the University of Florida around this particular question.
So are they talking about choreography, or are they just talking about a dance move?
Yeah, let's say it's a move, right? Let's say it's a movement that comes from you, comes out of your body in response to a stimuli. Let's take Michael Jackson's moonwalking, right? No one ever did that before. Right, that was pretty.
I have a feeling people on the streets were doing that.
People on the streets might have been, and I saw some of that in New York growing up. When breakdance, what was called breakdancing at the time, the kids would come in with flattened cardboard and spin around. But I guess the point is, how do you, if it gets picked up by a large media company or somebody uses it in a commercial, and somehow you say, "Hey, that's my move." Are you entitled to any sharing of the value?
Choreography is different. Like if you're doing choreography for West Side Story, it's not the original, that's a problem. Or you copy the original.
That's right. And Jerome Robbins owns that choreography.
Exactly. And for many years, when you did West Side Story, you'd have to use that choreography, no matter how poor your dancers were. But now that's changed, obviously. But for a move, I don't know. I mean, that sounds like it's a real sort of, that's a stretch. That's a real stretch when it comes to intellectual property.
Like I say, it's been formalized into a legitimate, wide-ranging conversation that I was just invited to, and I want to attend to hear what people are thinking about that.
Well, the thing I'm talking about has a lot to do with content. I have seen people copy other people's designs. I have seen it.
Right.
And that's not cool. I'm talking more about the technicality of taking a piece of research and saying, we should project this piece of research for this moment. Well, you really can't do that without permission. You really need to find out who owns that piece of research, that photograph. Because, and I'm not saying that you're going to be caught, but technically it's illegal to do that. And it's immoral to do that. If you can't find the owner, then you need to come up with something else or something with the spirit of that. And when I say spirit, I'm not talking about quotation mark spirit. I'm talking really the spirit, so that it's like not the same and it's bolder or it's from a different angle or something, And that's what this student did. She did a fantastic job, and it's her own. And she was inspired by the research. I remember I went to a great projection workshop at LDI many years ago, and our friend Zach Bovary was speaking. And I believe Zach said this, because I asked what type of content you use. You go on the internet and get royalty-free content, if you want waves crashing or whatever, or you want this great sunset. And he said, no, I use this. And he held up his cell phone. He says, I have it all here. And I put it on hard drives. And ever since he said that, that's what I've done. So that's what I would recommend you do, because it's great research. It is. And you can use that. That is legal to use because you shot it.
I was not going to go into the research aspect of it. We see this happening all the time, though. And we go to that summer stock theater company or that small musical theater company, and the director says, I want my Chicago to look just like the Broadway production. I want the choreographer. I want those dance steps. I want that in my show. I want those costumes. So they are. They may not feel that they are stealing someone's work. They may think that's in public domain because they just don't want to deal with the issue that if they want that work, they need to pay for it. But you see this all the time. You see it all the time. People just lift other people's work and put it on stage and pretend it doesn't matter and try to justify it.
Well, thank God I don't work with those people. That's all I have to say. I've been fortunate not to have a director say something like that. Because first of all, I wouldn't want to work. I said, then hire, then hire the designer who did it, right? Or hire their assistant if that designer's not around any longer.
I don't think there's any malice there. I think they really think that, yes, I can just take whatever and put it on stage.
They can do whatever they want without knowing the law or ignoring the law, because it's the law. It's intellectual property. I mean, there've been huge battles over this that go all the way to like your class notes. You go to a lot of universities, and when you sign your employee documents, your contracts, there's probably an intellectual property writer there saying that the university owns everything that you do and create.
There's nothing like the Gatorade contract.
Yes, you mentioned this before. I know that. The Gatorade.
Robert Cade, who invented Gatorade while a faculty member at the University of Florida. Look it up. Oh my God, what a controversy. And every faculty member at the university signs the Gatorade agreement, which means that anything that we create that becomes patentable or profitable while using university resources or in our field of discipline is owned by the university.
I suspect that's true at most universities and has been for a long, long time.
Yes, certainly in research universities, that's the case. But they tried to put it into our university, and we fought it, and we stopped it, which was amazing.
No Gatorade for you.
No Gatorade for me. Come back 1 year. All right, well, Steve has our last question.
It's Cindy in New Jersey, and she writes, I'm about to start life as a lighting supervisor for a small dance company. We will be spending 3 weeks in Europe. My question is, how much gel should I take with me? Cindy, you can't take enough. First thing you need to do, you need to contact every theater and find out what equipment is being used there and inventory the gel frame sizes. So that'll tell you a lot. So all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, I'll have a Parcan as my backlight, because I always have a Parcan as my backlight. Well, maybe that's true in theater number 1. Theater number 2, you've got a 2K Fresnel that's got a 12-inch cut. Or you've got a 5K Fresnel that's got a 14-inch cut. So you need to know exactly where you're going and what's expected at every theater. And I personally would carry a set of color for every theater. I would just start fresh. If you can double something up, that's great. But I would carry a set of color for every theater. Do not give any of your color away. You'll be tempted to do that. Some theater person who is more clever than you will walk up and say, hey, can I have your gel? And you'll probably say, sure, take it. I've got a new set for the next theater. Don't give your gel away. If you're going to give it away to the last theater company. Also, you need gel packed in your road boxes. That's true. I would also hand carry at least one set with me on the airplane. So if a box gets lost or something happens, you've got a set of color. And true story. We were traveling by bus across Germany, and I had my little lighting supervisor with me who was fresh out of college. We took our bus from, Berlin to Munich. And the next morning I said, where's the gel at breakfast? He goes, I left it on the bus. I said, that bus is back in Berlin, man.
Oh, no.
We're now traveling by train. So our gel you have sent back to Berlin on the bus. And he was like, he thought I was kidding. And he walked outside and he came back in just kind of white as a sheet and said, there's no bus here. No, there is no bus here.
We're on a train, dude.
So, I pack a lot of gel. I'd rather bring it home and save it for the next tour than not have it once I'm there.
Right.
Also, it goes back to what Scott's question. That stuff melts fast if you put it in a 2K or a 5K.
You put it in the template holder. Yes.
I am always looking for an opportunity to passionately disagree with Steve. And on this one, I totally disagree because Cindy says it's a small dance company. So I would just take a mix book for everyone.
Oh, just get LED lights and bring those with you.
Just a mix book. It's a small dance company.
That's a very small dance company.
That's right.
Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tells us that once again you've spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on Spotify, iTunes, Google, YouTube, livedesignonline.com, and just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website on lighttalk.org for future guests, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
if you should decide to litigate us, the law firm Reflect, Flocked, Flair, and their paralegal,
I am Snoot.
will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers, coming to you from Long Beach, Gainesville, and the Republic of Texas.
And be sure to join us next week when we talk about even more happenings in our crazy industry.
All of that and a new sponsor.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
So we'll see you all next Saturday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Toodles.
Adios.
Amigos.